All right. Well, thanks for being here on presenting here at Connect and Conquer, what we call Frameworks for Business Success on our podcast. So just to introduce myself for people who are listening, my name is George Mayfield. I'm the owner and founder of Frameworks Consortium, and what we do is to help companies find the right strategy and help them to grow and scale by utilizing our fractional C-suite. If you'd like to hear more about that, just check down in the comments. And what we have here today is Kim Hoffman, and Kim is one of our vetted service providers. And our vetted service providers are part of our organization that we bring in to fill in the gaps in our client businesses. So what Kim does is she is a LinkedIn marketing expert. And she helps people to make sure that they have a good LinkedIn profile, make sure that they're doing the right outreach and things like that. So that's what we'll be talking about today. There's a lot of need to make sure that people have their LinkedIn set up correctly. LinkedIn is definitely a big part of professional networking, and so it's very important, even if you're marketing on Facebook or TikTok or any of the other social platforms as well. As we've always said before, and our fractional CRO Ben has said, don't ever pick just one platform to utilize there. So but Kim here today is going to be talking about LinkedIn. So Kim, why don't you just introduce yourself to the group and tell us, who you are, what you do, and how you help people.
All right. So, yes, my business with Allison Solutions, I help individuals find their ideal clients. So, LinkedIn, we've got over 1 billion users there, and it's such a phenomenal tool that you can use to narrow down searches, and then you can reach out to thousands of people and you can bring in qualified leads really, really quickly. And what I do is I use an automated process. So with that automated process, we narrow down your ideal client. And I know that's something we've talked about before, figuring out your avatar, as it were, for your ideal client or customer. So from there, we kind of reverse engineer a search using Sales Navigator. And then from there, I take all of those leads and then we collaborate on your messaging sequence. And from there, you're able to connect with new people and then start conversations, set meetings, and you are able to really refine your needle in a haystack so that you can start closing business a lot more effectively and efficiently, so that you're not necessarily cold calling and reaching out to people that aren't necessarily qualified for your ideal client. So it just really makes it a lot easier for you, so you're not necessarily in the trenches of social media. So this is another way of social selling, but you're reaching out to people in a more professional manner. So it's not necessarily where you're on Instagram or TikTok, like you were mentioning, posting reels and things like that. And so, I do have also experience in content development. I do a lot of technical writing with writing articles and blog posts. That's something else I do for my clients. And we've seen a lot of success with adding value and then directing the clients to that information that we'll post on your profile. And then from there, people, we're generating a lot more connections with meetings from that, value standpoint with the content development.
Yeah, you really have to be developing a lot of content, I think, no matter where you are. Just keep generating content. So you mentioned LinkedIn and is different than some other platforms. What what is the difference really with LinkedIn versus some of the other platforms?
Well, a lot of the other platforms really are there just for fun, right? Purely for content. But this is, it's your online resume. It is a networking platform for professionals where everyone can see what your experience is, and they're able to understand if you're going to be a right fit, whether you're recruiting or if you're trying to get more clients, things like that. You can really tell a lot more about a person from an optimized LinkedIn profile than you can just from likes, comments, and shares on another social media platform. So a lot more professional. I feel like the look and feel of LinkedIn has really changed, I'd say, over the past 5 years. You don't necessarily get only the suited and booted business formal type of atmosphere. It's become more casual, yet still, definitely professional, only for networking purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly true. I kind of, I like it being a bit more casual. It can certainly get a bit too casual, but I'll certainly share. If there's some, my wife and I are having dinner at a nice place, and I'll usually try to, say like, we're able to do this because of the business that we did, or things like that, or maybe we're traveling because we're visiting a client and I'm taking my wife with me, things like that. So we'll try to be like a little bit personal. I find that sometimes those posts get a lot more traction than just a hey, here's what you should do as a business. But I think they're both valuable.
Absolutely. I like that you brought that up. And I think, as we all know, when it comes to sales, it's about relationships, right? And when
Mm,
it comes down to it, when you're trying to sell your professional edge, you're trying to sell yourself. And how can you do that necessarily just with writing and text? Of course, you want to have a really good headshot, but something that I try to encourage my clients to do when they get a response from someone,
hmm.
respond back with a video. Wherever you are, whatever you're working on, just share something personal, because ultimately you're trying to find a really good fit, not just for services offered, but personalities and the connection that's there. I think we all have experiences with that where you just don't gel with someone. So
Right.
when you share the personal things, and you try to make that connection with videos as well.
Hmm. Now, what are some of the common misconceptions that people have with LinkedIn? And some people think that it's only for looking for work, and certainly you mentioned that your LinkedIn profile is essentially your resume. And certainly back when I was looking for jobs many, many, many years ago, I would make sure that that was my resume. But then, after when I'm running my own business, I don't really think that people are looking at my profile and my resume necessarily. So maybe that's something that that I or that we should definitely check and update pretty often. Like I don't think I've updated mine in at least a year. But what other common like misconceptions do people have with LinkedIn?
Well, I think, as you brought up before with the personal connection, so you've got your about section, and that's another place where you can actually get a little bit more personal. And that's something that I recommend if you're a proud mom, proud dad, all of the different things that you do. Um, I've got one client, he is an insurance wholesaler, but he's also a spin instructor and a yoga instructor. And so that's
Mhm.
something that he likes to bring in there. So get a little bit more personal. um, Gosh, what else? A misconception that people aren't looking at it. I think that's a huge misconception. People are going to look at it. Um, and you've got to have it optimized. You want to have the right buttons up front. If you want someone to book a meeting with you, then connect your meeting link. You've got to
Yeah.
have it there. Um, and then the content. So you can actually have articles and a newsletter on there, and that can be working for you. You can get people actually, checking up on your newsletter, and
Hmm.
when you're not even there, it can be working for you essentially. So in the messaging, I will link to a lot of those things, so that you've got a lot that's going on in the background. um, and you're planting seeds, right? You're
Right.
planting seeds for future connections. Something that I found really interesting, some of the most successful campaigns that I've worked on have been with individuals' first connections, not their new connections, which is so interesting. So people that maybe you connected with 10, 12 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe back then that wasn't the right time for them to use your services, but now may be.
Huh.
And so I think it's really important not just to get the new connections and try and build those new relationships, go back to the old ones. So, you could put together some content with a new idea that you have, and maybe it wasn't relevant for them a while ago, but it could be a pain point that is a solution now.
Yeah.
So,
That's powerful advice. I think a lot of times people were trying to find like those new people. There's even network events here. Things like that. People are like, well, I already know all these people, right? But sometimes you have to know them for a while. Sometimes just not the right time, the right fit at the time.
exactly. Right.
One of the things that you mentioned is like creating content and like newsletters. And so I started my first newsletter on LinkedIn. I think it was like 2 years ago. Um, I actually saw Richard, what's his face, Virgin Airlines, right? He had a newsletter, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, you can make newsletters on LinkedIn. So I started my newsletter, and I put out one or two or three of them, just like once a month. It was kind of here and there. But I was at a networking event, and this guy, I didn't really recognize him, but I said, hi, my name is George Mayfield. I introduced myself. He goes, yeah, I know who you are. He goes, you send me emails all the time. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, you sent me an email like last week. And I was like, no, I didn't. I wasn't really using my CRM at the time. I don't really send out drip campaigns, and just try not to be spammy. So I was like, oh, no, that wasn't me. And he goes, yeah, it was you. And he goes, you had like multiple hats on, like a whole stack of hats on your head. And I was like, well, there was I had done a LinkedIn newsletter where I talked about like a business owner wearing too many hats. And I took a silly picture with it where I put on like multiple hats. And then there was a whole like LinkedIn article. What I didn't realize until he mentioned something was that LinkedIn is actually sending that newsletter out to their emails. It's not just on LinkedIn for them to maybe see it.
Isn't
I
that
think,
fantastic? Like I said, it's working for you when you're not even paying attention.
yeah,
So that's how your LinkedIn profile can work for you. It's so much more than just your resume. And yeah, the content, it's really powerful. And it's so funny that you mentioned that. You never know what's going to be sticky content, right?
mhm,
You just put stuff out there, and obviously that made a really strong impression. So you
yeah,
just got to keep adding that, it's going to be going to their email address, whatever their email address that they log into their LinkedIn account with. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad that you brought that up.
yeah. I really need to do more. See, I know that, and I still don't do it as much as I should.
So, a bit of advice that I do have. So, if you have a website and you have content that lives on your website in the form of a blog, whatever the case may be, copy and paste it. Use it as an article on your LinkedIn profile. That's your content. You own it. It can work for you on LinkedIn. And then use that article and put it in your subscription for your newsletter. So, I mean, you don't have to recreate everything. You can still copy and paste, but just put it on there.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great advice. Um, so you mentioned, optimizing people's profiles, and you talked a bit about having the button be the right thing. What are other sort of like quick tips and tricks that people need to like? If I was a listener right now, what are like three things that I should go check on my LinkedIn profile right now to make sure that it's optimized?
Absolutely. Your name, simple, free of clutter. You don't need to have all of the alphabet soup. You don't need to have all of the credentials after it. Just have your name. Don't worry about that. And then your photo. It needs to be a clean and clear head and shoulders shot. You don't
Mhm.
want to have a really messy background. You don't want it to be from far away. Just a nice, friendly, professional headshot. So make sure you're doing that. A customized banner. You've got some free real estate there. You can list the different, the most important things that you offer with your services that can offer solutions for your potential clients. Make sure you have that in there. You don't need to repeat your name on there. You don't need to have all of that. If you have a website, email address quickly that someone can see, great. But make sure that you have some quick bullet points on there. Um, Let's see, what else? Get verified. Have you guys seen that before? You've got the little shield beside your name. You can click on that
Mhm.
to get verified. It's a really quick and easy process. Click on that. It's going to bring up a QR code. You use your phone, you get verified, and they know that you are an actual real human. You're not a bot. You're not catfishing someone. You're a real person. Get verified. Get that
So
done.
I have a question on that. So I am not verified. I've had LinkedIn ask me multiple times to get verified, and I start the process, and it's asking for some pretty personal information, and I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do this. I don't want to give them, this information. I think I had to like take a picture of your ID or something like that. So like how important is this really?
So it's just something else that can help set you apart. So it's just going to help you have a stronger LinkedIn presence for someone that looks at your profile. So if you want to do something that's going to help set you apart, help bolster your presence, go ahead and do
Mhm.
it.
Okay.
If you're not comfortable with that, I get it. So it's the kind of thing where you do have to take an image of your ID, like you said, and then it wants to, do the live selfie kind of thing, similar to if you're going to, some different, government logins. They do the same thing with the ID Me if you've done something like that before. So it's the
Hmm.
same kind of similar process. I'm not going to, if someone's not comfortable with it, I'm not going to force them to do it, but it's
Right.
just another level.
Gotcha.
So
One of our participants here live asked if we could go through a LinkedIn profile. Do you mind? I can share mine, or you can share yours. Either way, would that be okay to do?
let's go through yours.
Okay, that is fine with me. All right. So we're looking at my profile here.
Look at that.
And
Look at that head and shoulders shot. I love it.
yeah, this was done by another one of our vetted service providers, Lene Renstrom. She takes really good pictures. Um,
Wonderful.
yeah, so yeah, you see, I'm not verified. I don't know where you would see that I was, but
All right. Well, go to your profile. So this is your homepage with your feed, right?
mhm.
So click on the
So
me in the top
I,
navigation bar.
I
Yep.
was trying to
And
do it
then
on the image on the shared
yeah,
image.
view profile. All right. So you can see that. George, you're not verified. Verified members get 60% more profile views. So,
Mm,
I don't know how true that necessarily is, but it's just another step, like I said, that you can take.
right.
All right, George Mayfield, helping owners build. Let's see, go back up there on your background
Oh
there.
yeah.
Enterprise value. Fantastic. So you've got an image there. It definitely helps you to have a more professional presence there if you've got the image in the background. You don't want to have just that grayscale image that LinkedIn gives you.
Default. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You don't want to have that. All right. So, and then you've got your headline there. That's the next part under your name right here.
Hmm.
Unlocking innovation, growth, and freedom for your business. Partner with Frameworks Consortium, keynote speaker and best-selling author on strategy. And I do like having this. If you're going to separate some of your specialties or skills, use the pipes like that.
Hmm.
Author on strategy, organizational development, management consulting, integrator, USN veteran. So this is where you want to keep it professional right here is in your headline. Okay. If you have something else that you want to bring in, something that's more personal, it's more appropriate to have it in your about section.
Okay.
So this is just going to be your headshot, essentially. The section right here, that's the snapshot that someone is going to see when you send them a direct message. So if we do an automated campaign, this is what's going to pop up.
Hmm.
So they're going to see your header image, your name, and they're going to see a bit of your headline right there. All right. So scroll down. Let's see. So this is your profile. We can see, your analytics, all this. Okay, fantastic. About section. So the first section right there, the first 3 lines is your hook.
Mhm.
You want to have something in there that's going to draw someone in and make them want to see more. So when they look at that, you're only going to see the first 3 lines, and then they're going to be able to click on see more. You want them to click on see more. So you've got to have a
Yeah.
hook. Are you a business owner that has become frustrated because you can't seem to grow, scale, and seize opportunities? You've demonstrated a pain point right there, right?
Hmm.
So instead of saying, I do this, 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 and this, I mean, who cares? You want to
Right.
try and stay away from all of these I statements in your hook. So if you have a pain point in there, they're more likely to read more. All right. So as an integrator, I bring your company together under one vision within 12 months. Frameworks Consortium can provide you with a full fractional C-suite that will together provide you with. So you've introduced the pain point and a
Hmm.
solution, and then the details of what you're going to offer right there. So yeah, you've obviously worked with someone to help you out, right?
I don't know who that would have been.
So this is looking pretty good right here. Um, And you want to be pretty quick with those right there. And I'm
Uh-huh.
going to say too, just in general, when you're putting together an about section or anything that's going to be longer than 2 or 3 lines, you need to format it in a way that's going to offer some easy readability. So
Mm.
have a couple of separated paragraphs and then bulletized points. That's always going to be helpful for readability.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think I had to do asterisks. I don't think they actually let you do bullet points.
no, and
That's
that's another thing. Yeah.
or
On
links here, obviously.
Right. And it's the same thing. Well, with DMs, you can put links in there. So you can
Mhm.
hyperlink, but with the formatting, you can't set it up necessarily with bullets. It doesn't automatically do that. So you're going to have to use some asterisks or something like that. Another
Yeah.
thing I will say, don't use emojis. Um,
Not here or not ever.
Not here, not in your
Yeah.
about section. So you want to just keep it clean and simple and to the point. Let's see. So free call, you do have your link right there.
Mhm.
You've got your website. And so at the bottom, so as with your header, you had like your skills and specialties separated with pipes. You can do the same thing under here and get a little bit more personal. So you can say that you've got a hobby. Maybe you're a surfer, or maybe you love some kind of other hobby. You're a proud dad, you're a wife, you're a husband, whatever you want. If you want to include something a little bit personal, that's the place to put it.
Gotcha.
Services, list at least 5.
Okay.
Featured. So now this is a section that you can move to the top. So that can come to the top of your profile, and that's where you can put your articles. That's where you can put your newsletter, is in your
Mm.
featured section.
Yeah.
So, right. That's where you're going to start having your LinkedIn profile work for you, is with that featured section.
Awesome.
And then your activity, that's something you want to maybe keep an eye on. That's where you're going to, excuse me, not only are your posts going to be there, but any comments or things that you've liked are going to be there. So that kind of, makes me think of something else. So with LinkedIn, your activity is actually really valuable. Um, so you want engagement because
Mhm.
it's going to show up in other people's feed. And when you show up in other people's feed, then you get exposure with all of their connections as well. When you're posting something, my recommendation is to tag at least 3 people in it. Reason is, it's going to show up in their inbox, in their notifications. They're going to see that you've been tagged in there. They're going to look at the post, and hopefully they're likely going to comment on it. And then if someone comments on your post, reply to it. Keep the engagement going. Keep it top of mind in other people's feed. You want your name to show up in someone else's notifications. Just
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
those little seeds that you're planting, visibility, familiarity, all of those things.
Now, and one of our participants has a question I'll ask you in a second, but, along with what you just said about your activity, is it possible to do too much? So, and I asked this because, earlier this year, I was doing a post, like, every single day. And posting a quote from my book, posting this, posting this, and some people were complaining, not necessarily about me. Actually, they were complaining about somebody else and saying like, "Oh man, this person posts like way too much. I'm tired of seeing they're all over my feed, and it's like just." They're like, get a life, and they said this about someone else, and I was like, maybe I'm posting too much. So I kind of like, some people say you shouldn't post, then someone else said like, TikTok, Facebook, you post every single day, but LinkedIn, 2 or 3 times a week. What are your thoughts on
Exactly.
that?
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say. 1 to 3 times a week is absolutely sufficient. And another thing with LinkedIn versus other platforms, don't go crazy with the hashtags. Maximum of 6.
I think that's a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, that's maximum of 6. It isn't
Okay.
the place. I mean, you can search for any kind of content that you want to, right? Just put it in
Mhm.
your search bar. You can search for people, companies, or just subjects.
Yeah.
And that's where the hashtags are relevant, right? So if you keep it in there and gosh, if you just want to put something in there for fractional C-suite, something like that. If someone starts searching for that, then your content is going to show up if you used it as a hashtag. And that's
Gotcha.
great. So you get more visibility for that. But
Yeah.
don't go crazy on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I agree. 1 to 3 times a week is sufficient for LinkedIn.
Okay. Now, someone else asked, if we have a marketing funnel that leads to a no fee consultation call, where would it be best to put that?
The funnel as far as, oh, okay. I can see the question. If you already have a built out marketing funnel that leads to a no-fee consultation. Um, I would say the about section, and this is something else that's really, really valuable for your automated campaign too. So, not necessarily just talking about your profile, but this is what's going to be valuable to actually bring you business and eventually help you close deals.
Hmm.
So I would say the about section. You don't want to get salesy in your headline,
Yeah.
but put it in the about section.
And I know here a free call is not a good call to action. So I need to change that. But I'm working on my next thing. So yeah, and then we got activity and then the experience section here.
Mm-hmm. So experience section, um, you want to definitely keep that populated as it's relevant to what you're doing right now. You don't need to have every single experience in there. I think we're all kind of aware of that. Definitely
Hmm.
what you're doing as the present. Anything that is, you've got 5 years, 8 months there, that's fantastic. You don't need to have anything that's maybe less than a year, unless it's absolutely really important that someone else sees it. So
Okay. Yeah.
let's see.
That makes
And
sense.
then education, as far as it's relevant, just keep that in there. Volunteering, that's something that's really powerful because it shows, not only that you're giving back to the community or something like that, but it shows something else that you're possibly passionate about with your
Hmm.
volunteerism. So it's something that shows a little bit more about you. Skills, you want to have at least 5 in there. Again, when you're
Okay.
starting out, you've got 49, fantastic. And once you have skills, then you can have, like you've got in there, endorsements. People can endorse you with those skills.
Yeah.
And so I would actually recommend that's something that you do for other people. So stay active on LinkedIn and give other people endorsements. And then in the recommendation section, that's something that's also very powerful. Um, so if you want someone to get interested in your services, this is where you can essentially have referrals, right?
Yeah.
Referrals are a strong way of marketing. So give other people recommendations, and something that I'm doing for someone right now. So um, he owns a professional answering service that's been around since the 1950s. And he's
Oh,
trying to build his business. And he has only been marketing with postcards, physical postcards, not even
wow.
email campaigns right now. And that's how they built their business and kept it running. Anyway, so he is just starting to get on LinkedIn and we're having to start from scratch. He had 5 connections, no profile image, no background image. And so right now, what I'm doing is we're finding all of his current clients, getting connected, and then asking them to give him recommendations so we can bolster his profile. So
Nice.
we're going through all of these things with him, getting verified and getting content on there. But anyway, so recommendations are important.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And we got publications here.
Yeah. So where you've been published,
Yeah. Yeah.
honors
There's
and awards.
definitely some things I need to update in here that I haven't updated in forever. uh, yeah.
Fantastic. No, this is a great profile.
Yeah. And, I've been on LinkedIn, not to toot my own horn, but my LinkedIn link is George Mayfield. So it's just the LinkedIn/George Mayfield because I was like one of the first, at least the first George Mayfield.
And that's something that's good to bring up. That's one of my points
Mhm.
in my optimization checklist. You can actually customize your LinkedIn URL, and that's a really good thing to do. Keep it
Hmm.
easy, keep it brief. And, when you're given one, when you have your default, it's going to likely have, just some numbers by it. But you should
Right.
be able to use some iteration of your first and last name.
Hmm. Would you say that that's also a good place to market your business?
It can be, absolutely. So
Hmm.
you can use your name if you want to do your name, underscore, and then, just a
The name
really
of the company.
simple name of your business. Absolutely.
Hmm. Okay. Now, I've seen some people in their actual name, they'll put some emojis or something in their name. What do you think about it? Do you have any thoughts, like pros or cons on doing that?
Um, I think it totally depends on your professional branding. So if it's something that is aligned with your branding and with
Hmm.
the type of, ideal customer avatar, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
But I think that may lie within, a smaller sector. I would stay away from it myself. But if you feel like it aligns with you professionally, then do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not necessarily my favorite thing to see.
Yeah. One person told me that it helps them to figure out if somebody is actually typing them a message versus, robotic, automation. Because if it's the automation, it will put the emoji in there as well. But if it's not, like if I wanted to reach out to Cheryl Powers, I would just say, "Hey Cheryl," whatever. But if I was an automation, it would say Cheryl Powers and then arm.
Hmm. Understood. No, that makes sense. And that does bring up a good point about messages. So if you're replying to someone, or you'll get the notification so and so is celebrating X anniversary at their job, congratulate them. Don't use the automated buttons. Use something personal. We can all tell when someone has just used those automated buttons.
Hmm.
So definitely you want to make sure that someone knows that it's not just a robot, it's not just AI, it's actually a human that's doing it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
For sure.
100%. Yeah. So thanks a lot for this, Kim. I think this is really helpful. And if anybody is wanting to buff up their LinkedIn presence and their profile, they can reach out to you. And how would they do that best?
With my email address, let's see, I could put that in the chat, or I don't know how you want to distribute
Uh,
information, but I do have, like I said, the PDF I'm happy to send out to everyone.
okay. Awesome. Well, we can reach out to you on LinkedIn.
That's true too.
Yeah. Kim Allison. All right. Let me.
So there's LinkedIn, and then it's Kim at allison-solutions.com.
Awesome. Thanks again, Kim, for being here and for showing us all this. If anybody else was to have any other questions, this is comments on the YouTube later on or anything like that. We'll pass them on to you. Yeah, thanks again for doing this. I think it's very valuable, and I know that I have seen a lot of value using your services in the last year and a half. So it's been really good.
Okay, thank you, George.
Thank you.